Hello YouTube, the Eye of Stone here, and today we're going to do several things today. First of all, we are going to have a look-see at the Netherlands of Lady Rumford's Manor in the first mission of Thief 2, the Metal Age, Running Interference. As you know, my collaborator Ekmer and I have always specialized in getting places in the Thief universe that we're not supposed to be, and this was one oversight that we've never done before, and I can tell you that the skybox is not with us. The skybox is against us in this level, but I've managed to find a way around that. So, let us walk and talk, or crate climb and walk, and our noise will propagate, and it couldn't aggravate that guy, so let's proceed a little bit carefully. While we go about our business doing this, we're going to see the sights, but obviously, if you're watching this video at all, you may well possibly be curious about my thoughts regarding Nightdive Studios' newly announced Remaster of Thief the Dark Project. Well, that is definitely something we're going to talk about. The short answer, obviously, is yes, I am going to stream a fully narrated... didn't happen. I'm going to be streaming a fully narrated Let's Stream of the game on the expert difficulty level. Just as soon as it arrives. Just as soon as they drop it, we will certainly do that on the Eye of Stone. Now, I just want to... kind of be swapping back and forth between topics here. I can't duck, and I suspect Garrett is actually sort of partway through the ceiling here, because you notice I'm pressing the space bar and I can't jump, so the skybox is really working against us in this level, and that right there is the explanation to why you haven't seen this particular level explored in this way on the channel sooner. Now, if you look down there, you will see those crates, and we're going to go around and look at the other hedge, and we're going to see crates there too. That right there is why Ekmer and I do this, because it's just a vestigial little sign of older ideas in the design of these levels, roads not taken. You know, I haven't even had the chance to confer with Ekmer about this, but I bet you when I do, he will tell me that yes, indeed, that the reason those crates are there is because at one point the developers were considering a different take on how Garrett would infiltrate this level, and they decided to go with something more simple. Thief 2 famously encountered a very badly rushed crunch time at the end, and they just didn't have time to do everything they wanted to do. So for Ekmer and I, anyway, you know, I revel in the challenge of just getting somewhere I'm not supposed to be able to get to. It's sheer criminal intent, sheer thiefy criminal personality. Ekmer is interested in the tracing the development cycle through vestiges that are made it through to the finished game. So that's what those crates are there for, and that right there would make this little jaunt worthwhile. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a save here, and we're going to jump down so that we can. There's not going to be any going back. You know, you're not supposed to be in these areas, so ease of travel between them is not easy to do. Anyway, to return to the Thief the Dark Project Remaster, I absolutely will be doing I will be doing probably a bunch of work with it. You know, there will certainly, the first thing we're going to do will be a fully narrated Let's Play on the expert difficulty level. I mean, see if I don't do fully narrated Let's Plays or Let's Streams of the remaster on all 3 difficulty levels. You know, let me head off any confusion here ahead of time. I will be doing both formal Let's Plays as a video and casual Let's Streams. We will do a Let's Stream first. I don't think there's any reason to drop down there, because if I drop down there, I'm just not going to be able to get back out. So once again, I hate to be the one to tell you, the city resides on a supermassive black hole. It sits atop a back room's supermassive black hole of doom. Anyway, for the sake of timeliness, I will certainly do a Let's Stream live, unfiltered, uncensored, as soon as I can get my thiefy paws on the remaster. However, for the sake of posterity, and also being able to give the remaster the Eye of Stone treatment I can possibly give it, I'm going to do a formal but also fully narrated Let's Play as a series of uploaded videos. You know, the fact of the matter is, I really have a lot of fun streaming live with those Taffers who follow my channel very closely. But my streams certainly do not outperform my video uploads, and I want to make sure that I cover something as major an event as the remaster is, in a formal way that will, you know, maybe be seen by more people, and will just be sort of more of a polished treatment of the remaster here on the Eye of Stone. But you know, that takes time, life interferes, and to play all those levels at my best, it's going to take a couple weeks. And, you know, then you got to do production and get it all produced and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, in today's game where, you know, if you're not there in the first 48 hours, you kind of miss the bus. So we will certainly do a live Let's Stream of the game. That I'm going to go through it on expert. You know, I'm getting into shape with the first 2 games right as we speak. Now, Garrett doesn't want to drop down there. We kind of have to, this is tricky. It is doable, but let's see. Let's try it this way. There we go. Okay. So now we've dropped down here, and this is, they were setting this up for Garrett going over the hedges, obviously, at some point. These are here so that Garrett could actually get over this obstacle. Now, we can get up there, and we can get here, but, watch, I cannot get him back up here, and that's because the skybox is not cooperating. So there's something wonky about how Garrett is interacting, I would suspect anyway. This is where Ekmer knows more than I do. I would suspect there's something wonky about how Garrett is interacting with these surfaces that lets him do it at all, because the skybox really does not want us to be here. So, let's just see what I can do. Let's come back down here, and I'm able to jump. So, let's created a third save here. And... oops, okay. Now. Okay. Let's be careful. And then we can go like so. Now, we can't get up there, but with a little bit of care, we can navigate this fence. So, I had, I've been thinking about what projects I might be able to continue doing with the first two games. I will say this. The Nightdive Studios hit the ball out of the park with their remaster of System Shock 2. For those who haven't seen it, I will mention we covered it here on the Eye of Stone. I did fully narrated Let's Streams of the Navy Sailor and Marine. There's two different fully narrated streams of the Nightdive Studios remaster of System Shock 2 you can watch here on the Eye of Stone. And they hit an absolute bases-loaded grand slam home run with what they did with System Shock 2. And, my thoughts about their remake of System Shock 1 are a little more complicated. I don't really want to get into that. There were things about it I liked. There were things about it I didn't like. But there's no denying that they put a great deal of effort into it. And that they essentially came up with something that is respectful of the original and looks great. And out of all that, quite naturally, Taffers got to thinking, we should let these people get their paws on Thief. It's like, if only the industry could deign to make that doable, these folks could do Thief a world of good. And Thief needs someone to come in and do it a world of good. It gets harder and harder to keep these games running. And I'm going to come out and say it here. I've said it in other formats publicly. I'm saying it in one of my videos right here, right now. I do not like some of the changes that the latest patches for these games have introduced. And I appreciate all the hard work that goes into patching these games and keeping them running for us. That is a great deal of hard work. You know what? What I do is a great deal of hard work. And there are some things about the latest patches for the first two Thief games that I do not like. So I am, of course, I'm happy that there's going to be a new stable way to play these games for many years to come now. There's some concerns about that. The remaster is going to address that for a long while. That means I get to keep lingering on, finding things like we're doing right now to do. I also am keen to have another set of hands on the game, and what issues really need to be addressed, what things need to be changed in a 21st century context, what things need to be left the hell alone. How do we present the game in a way that makes it accessible while not violating the Contra by attempting to improve on it. I'm hoping that some of the tampering that's been done with the AI in this game does not carry over. I'm hoping that maybe some of the original seams, even if the textures are enhanced, that the levels are presented essentially without modification. So I do have a wish list I'm going into this with, but I have supreme confidence in Nightdive Studios, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to have for us. The trailer that just dropped is very promising. The the textures just look like they've had a lot of life breathed into them, and there seem to be new atmospheric effects, and the new models for the torches in particular. There's a close-up view of them. I noticed the torches, the wall torches, the sconces for the torches, and on the Steam page, there's a close-up screenshot of one of the torches, and there's this sort of Celtic-y design that goes around the cup of it, and it's the amount of attention to detail just looks amazing. And so, obviously there's a lot of love and effort that's going into this. It's coming this winter. We don't, as of the recording of this video, we don't have a release date yet. They've said winter 2026. It'll arrive when it arrives. It's like System Shock 2 took as long as it took. The remake of System Shock 1 took as long as it took. They both got here. The remaster of Thief the Dark Project will get here. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to have a blast. And, I can do a let's stream of it. Maybe 2-3 let's plays on different difficulty levels. And, if it runs... I'm just running into a few things with trying to limp these old games along with patches that are kind of beginning to cramp my style. What I do often pushes Garrett's ability to move to the absolute limit. And there's things that are happening that are getting in my way. I'm confident, I certainly hope, that the remaster will fix that. I'm sure it will. If it runs the way the game is supposed to run, it will fix that, categorically. And with that being fixed, in addition to a couple run-throughs of the game, who knows, what other wacky ideas I might eventually be able to come up with and share with everybody. Hey, maybe the remaster will introduce idiosyncrasies and quirks of its own. The idiosyncrasies and quirks of this game are a great deal of what has conferred such staying power upon it, actually. That's that aspect is sometimes acknowledged and sometimes underappreciated. Thief is a very wacky game with a lot of emergent chaos that can ensue from the proceedings, just because of how unconventionally it is made and how unconventionally it functions. The patches have preserved some of that, and they interfere with some of it. And, that is a gripe I have. I make no bones about it. I'm just... everything here is just my opinion. So, I have... I have great optimism about Nightdive Studios' remaster of Thief the Dark Project, and I'm also, glad that it is Thief the Dark Project and not Thief Gold. I have said that many times before. I'll say it again. I'm just not really much of a fan of Thief Gold. I prefer Thief the Dark Project, and I'm glad that's what they went with. Doing the Thief Gold levels would introduce a great deal of complication and would probably, stall the project by another 6 months if they had to give those massive Thief Gold levels the treatment. I have noticed in my own comments section that the Thief Gold levels, specifically the Downwinders level, Thieves Guild, is kind of having a little bit of a renaissance. That used to be a level that, from my perspective anyway, everybody just ripped on. And it seems like now it has a small crop of defenders that are speaking up on its behalf. And that's just something I've noticed in my comments semi-recently. But, I kind of like Mage Towers, but otherwise I can take a pass on Thief Gold levels. So I'm not missing the fact that it's Thief the Dark Project and not Thief Gold. I'm sure some people are, which is fine. But I'm you know, I'm totally pumped to play Nightdive Studios Remaster of Thief project, and in the days ahead here on the Eye of Stone, we will certainly do that. I wanted to come out and declare my intentions to do so, and I have also long wondered if there wasn't a way to get around the skybox limitations of this level, which we have also now accomplished to the extent that it can be. So, I wish everybody well, and I will see you all very soon, hopefully, for Nightdive Studios Remaster of Thief the Dark project. And with that, I will say see you next time. Later.